When a narcissist destroys a loyal woman, she will never be the same again. Have you ever taken a moment to notice how a woman transforms after being deeply hurt by a narcissistic man? It's not just a fleeting change. No, it's far more profound than that. Once her trust is shattered, once she has endured betrayal and manipulation at the hands of someone who claimed to care for her, she undergoes a metamorphosis that leaves her unrecognizable even to herself. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but when it does, it becomes clear that she will never return to the person she once was. The version of herself that existed before the pain is gone, replaced by someone stronger, wiser, and far more guarded. When a loyal woman loves, she does so with every fiber of her being. She pours her heart and soul into the relationship, offering her time, her energy, her trust, all without hesitation. For her, love isn't just a feeling, it's an action, a commitment, a promise to stand by the person she cares for, no matter what. But when that love is met with betrayal, when her loyalty is exploited, and she is discarded like she never mattered, something inside her shifts in a way that cannot be undone. This change runs deeper than surface-level emotions. It cuts straight to her core, altering the very essence of who she is. And this is something the narcissist never anticipates. The narcissist operates under the assumption that she will always remain the same. He believes she will endlessly wait for him, forgive him, and keep coming back, no matter how many times he hurts her. After all, her loyalty has been unwavering, up until this point, so why would he think otherwise? But here's where his miscalculation lies. He underestimates the depth of her strength and resilience. He fails to realize that there is a limit to how much pain she can endure before she reaches her breaking point. And once she gets there, once she has been pushed too far, she becomes someone he could never have imagined. She evolves into a version of herself that he cannot control, manipulate, or dominate, and that is something he is wholly unprepared for. Let's delve into this topic further because understanding this transformation is crucial. Welcome back to my channel, where we explore the dynamics of relationships and healing from toxic patterns. Today's discussion focuses on a powerful truth. Once a narcissist hurts a loyal woman, she is never the same again. This is a phenomenon that deserves attention, as it sheds light on the profound impact of emotional abuse and the incredible capacity for growth and change that lies within those who have endured it. To truly grasp the magnitude of this shift, we need to examine not only what happens to her during the relationship, but also how she emerges from it, stronger, wiser, and forever changed. Understanding the loyal woman's transformation. You know, there's something about a loyal woman that a narcissist simply cannot fully grasp. He assumes her loyalty is boundless, believing she'll remain by his side, no matter how many times he hurts her. He tells himself, she'll always come back, she'll always forgive me. But what he fails to understand, what he never truly sees coming, is that once she reaches her breaking point, she doesn't just bounce back to who she was before. That version of her is gone for good. And when she finally wakes up to the reality of the situation truly and completely, she walks away, and she doesn't look back. There's always a turning point, a moment when everything changes. It's often one final act of betrayal, the last straw that shatters the illusion she had been holding on to. It's the moment when she realizes she can no longer continue living this way. One day she finds herself saying, "No, enough is enough. I'm not going to keep enduring this. I'm not going to let myself be erased, lose my sense of self, or sacrifice my identity for someone who doesn't even value my presence. That moment becomes the catalyst for her transformation, marking the beginning of her journey toward freedom and self-respect. The moment of realization and detachment. It's the moment she realizes that she has been pouring her energy into someone who would never do the same for her. This realization hits her like a tidal wave, triggering something deep within her, a shift so profound that it changes everything. That's the moment the narcissist loses her completely, though he may not realize it right away. You see, a loyal woman doesn't leave on impulse. She doesn't storm out in the heat of an argument or act out of raw emotion. No, her departure is far more calculated and deliberate, qualities the narcissist often underestimates. Before she physically walks away, she leaves mentally and emotionally. Her heart begins to detach, piece by piece, and her mind starts to clear as the fog of manipulation lifts. By the time she finally decides to leave, it's not driven by anger or frustration, but by a crystal clear understanding of the truth. She leaves not because she wants to punish him, but because she knows, without a doubt, that staying would mean losing herself entirely. There is nothing more threatening to a narcissist than a woman who sees through his facade, who understands him for exactly who he is, inside and out. Once she gains this clarity, there's no turning back. She recognizes his games, his manipulations, and his inability to truly care for anyone but himself. And when she reaches that point, she becomes untouchable. Eventually, there comes a day when she fully grasps that her presence means nothing to him, that her worth has been diminished and disregarded over and over again. Before reaching this conclusion, however, she may have returned to him multiple times, 7, 8, 10 times, or even more, hoping for change, holding on to a shred of hope that things might improve. But each return ends in disappointment, chipping away at her patience and faith, until she finally accepts that there's no hope left. The process of leaving begins internally, long before it manifests externally. She disconnects emotionally first, creating distance in her heart and mind, before ultimately breaking away for good. The silent departure and its effects. Before she leaves, she undergoes a transformation that takes the narcissist completely by surprise. She becomes what can only be described as the silent wife, embodying the image of the ideal partner, or even the perfect mother, in some cases. She stops voicing her complaints, ceases defending herself against his accusations, and no longer reacts to his manipulative tactics or emotional abuse. To the narcissist, who is as arrogant as he is blind, this sudden change appears to signal submission, as though she has finally succumbed to his dominance. But nothing could be further from the truth. That silence isn't a sign of defeat, it's her final stand. It's the calm before the storm, the last act before she walks away for good. This is the moment that becomes the narcissist's worst nightmare, a moment he never anticipated, and one he will never recover from. Her departure hits him with a force he was unprepared for, shattering his fragile ego into a million irreparable pieces. Why? Because he never saw it coming. He was so convinced of his control over her, so confident in his ability to manipulate her emotions, that her awakening blindsides him completely. The narcissist thrives on controlling the narrative. It's the foundation of his entire existence, isn't it? His power lies in dictating the story, bending reality to suit his needs, and keeping others trapped in his web of lies. But once she breaks free from his spell and begins to see things clearly, From her own perspective, he loses everything. The moment she steps out of his distorted version of reality, his power crumbles. Without her compliance, without her willingness to play along, he is left exposed, powerless, and utterly undone. The narcissist's unexpected loss of control. Here's the truth that narcissists fail to anticipate. When a loyal woman is betrayed, her decision to leave isn't just about walking away from him, it's about leaving behind the person she used to be. The version of herself that allowed his abuse to continue. She sheds the identity of the woman who ignored glaring red flags because he gaslit her into doubting her own instincts. She stops being the woman who made endless excuses for him, rationalizing his hurtful actions and justifying behaviors that no one should ever have to endure. She no longer clings to the belief that love means suffering, or that enduring pain is proof of her devotion. In place of that former self, she transforms into what's often referred to as a dark empathy. A woman who becomes untouchable in the eyes of the narcissist. This transformation isn't toxic or vengeful. Instead, it's empowering. She evolves into someone who refuses to let anyone take advantage of her ever again. Her newfound clarity ensures that she will never tolerate manipulation, disrespect, or mistreatment in any form. This shift begins with her prioritizing herself and reclaiming her peace. She stops over-explaining herself or seeking validation from others. She no longer bends over backward for people who wouldn't think twice about helping her if she were in need. She sets boundaries so firm and raises her standards so high that those who once had unrestricted access to her life now find themselves completely shut out. And that's when the narcissist's world begins to crumble. He's left bewildered, unsure of how to respond, because he never imagined she would change like this. He assumed she'd always care enough to stay, always forgive, always return, but he was wrong. He never expected her to stop caring about him or to grow beyond the confines of the relationship entirely. Yet, that's exactly what happens. She outgrows him, leaving him behind, as she steps into a stronger, wiser, and more self-assured version of herself. The rise of the dark empath. When she finally reaches this point of transformation, she becomes utterly untouchable, and that's something the narcissist never saw coming. He had always expected her to crumble under the weight of his manipulations, to cry, beg, and chase after the false promises he fed her for so long. What he never anticipated was that she would rise above it all, emerging stronger than ever before, so much so that even she might not have realized she was capable of such growth. Because when a loyal woman, a devoted wife, a caring daughter, finally breaks free, she doesn't just leave him behind, she leaves behind the parts of herself that allowed her to settle for less. She stops clinging to the hopeless hope he dangled in front of her, convincing her to stay with empty promises and fleeting moments of validation. She no longer romanticizes his potential or wastes time imagining what could have been. She refuses to hand out endless chances to someone who treated her like an option. This shift is what strikes fear into the heart of the narcissist, though he'll never admit it. Why? Because now she's no longer reacting to his games. Why? Because now she's no longer reacting to his games. She stepped off the emotional roller coaster he created and stopped playing by his rules. She no longer feels the need to prove her worth to someone who was never worthy of her love or loyalty in the first place.
Her silence, her indifference, her strength, they all become a mirror, reflecting his own emptiness back at him. He's left reeling, grasping at thin air, trying to make. He's left reeling, grasping at thin air, trying to make sense of where his power disappeared to. For him, it's not just about losing her as a partner, a wife or a daughter. It goes deeper than that. He's lost control over her emotions, her actions, her emotions, her actions, and most importantly, the validation she once unknowingly provided. That validation, the admiration and attention she gave him, was the lifeblood of his fragile ego. Without it, he begins to unravel, spiraling his fragile into chaos. As without it, he begins to unravel, spiraling into chaos, as the stability she once brought into his life vanishes completely. Desperate to regain his footing, he tries every trick in the book to reel her back in. He resorts to the same manipulative tactics that worked on her before. He resorts to the same manipulative tactics that worked on her before, hoping she'll fall for them one last time. But here's the thing, she doesn't. Not anymore. She won't. The woman who once tolerated his abuse, who once believed his lies and soothed his behavior, no longer exists. In her place stands someone unshakable, someone immune to his attempts to control or destroy her. In her place stands someone unshakable, someone immune to his attempts to control or destroy her. And that reality is something the narcissist simply cannot comprehend or recover from. Indifference in living forward. And here's the most powerful part, she doesn't have a victim. Instead she feels nothing, utter indifference. Instead she feels nothing, utter indifference. There's no burning desire for revenge, no evasion, neither face of need for closure. With no lingering dependency of her revenge, no obsessive need for closure, and no lingering dependency on him in any way. She's released him completely from her emotional treatment. She isn't weighed down by bitterness, instead she is better, stronger, isn't weighed down by bitterness, instead she is better, stronger, wiser, and more at peace with herself. This transformation is what devastates him the most. While he remains trapped in his own dysfunction, unable to escape the chaos of his making, she steps boldly into a new chapter of her life. She begins to rebuild what he tried to destroy. She begins to rebuild what he tried to destroy. Recreating herself, rebuild what he tried to destroy. Recreating herself in ways that had become destroyed. She starts to shine, radiating confidence, authenticity and resilience, in a way she'd never have tinted her. The ultimate low. She becomes everything he only pretended to be, strong, confident, strong. She becomes everything he only pretended to be, strong, confident, self-assured. But here's the key difference. It wasn't him who shaped her into this person. On the contrary, she rose to this greatness, despite her. On the contrary, she rose to this greatness, despite his too lost-driven ego. And that is something he can never undo or take credit for. It's a victory that belongs entirely to her, leaving him powerless against the legacy of her strength. So if you've ever been shattered by a narcissist, take heart, your words are strong. So if you've ever been shattered by a narcissist, take heart, your brokenness is not permanent. He's a strange value to repentance, to rage, to the and one day when you look back on that chapter of your life, you'll realize the once time to shout. Losing you was the worst thing that could have happened to her. It meant the loss of control happened to him. For him it meant the loss of control, admiration and desperation. But for you, it carried an entirely different significance. In fact, it was the best thing that ever happened to you because it set you as a rocks, to your rocks, from the fate. Figure set you free for his lead from isn't it your rocks, for you that you are to get to your rocks, then it is obviously lead to us to the discover the intuition, lead to the discover the kids, the discover the If this resonates with you, let me know in the comments. Share your story as a lawyer's walk through the fire of narcissistic abuse and tells to innocent dreams. Say it was once things so that you missed you was still. We will understand you was to things to rockets. Still is a deep body first to us. Still to us. Still to us. Still to us. Thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to listen. Thank you so much for being here and for taking the time to listen. Your presence means our resource. Love you. Either will reach to love first. Until then, as always, let the healing begin. And may it continue to be your best. We will store it against you.
Until then, as always, let the healing begin, and may it continue to guide you toward peace, strength, and freedom. Take care.